happening, everybody? Monday, August 25th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Kilmar Garcia is on his way, I would say, back to his country, but he's not. He's actually chosen to go to Uganda. And by chosen, I say that he didn't have to do that. He could have went to Costa Rica. He could have went to a myriad of other countries. But because he thinks he has some kind of right to be in the United States, the Trump administration is planning on sending him back to a country most people hadn't heard of until the Book of Mormon decided to make fun of it. So we're gonna be talking about all those updates today. Also, President Trump signs massive executive orders, which has infuriated many on the right. Oh no! Flag burning. What are we going to do? America is ending. America is ending, everybody. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. He's sending troops into other cities. Yeah. Turns out that's exactly what he's doing. Because it's helping, and people are starting to notice. We're going to get into all of that. Also, we're going to show you, we're going to talk about Rosie. We got to talk about Rosie, who has admitted that Donald Trump has broken her in one of the funniest interviews I've ever seen. I actually feel bad for Chris Cuomo that his career has sunk to this. Scott Jennings laughs in people's face as apparently the Democrats are doing well, according to a new guest. And strangely enough, the Ottawa Gay Pride Parade was interrupted. By who, you may ask? Well, you'll have to stick around and see. AC Knight loved the Book of Mormon quote. Yeah. Uganda. Yes, I love the Book of Mormon. Great play. If you guys haven't seen it, go see it. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. But before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, wherever it is you may be watching from. Make sure you guys are following the page, rumble.com/LFATV. Oh, and I've got a special update for you guys. If you go to loudmajorityusa.com, that's loudmajorityusa.com, we've got a new shirt up. You guys are going to want this one because every day, I get asked by idiots on the left, is this what you voted for? Did you vote for this? And now I can tell them that I, in fact, did vote for this. Pick that up today. You guys can get it in pretty much every damn color imaginable. There's a lot of pinks on here. Holy crap. Guys, go to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Pick it up today. You guys can use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE. Also, if you buy it, it comes with those forearms. If you pick this up today, it comes with those forearms in case anybody is in the need for that. So, guys, go to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com and use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. Boom, giddy up, let's go. So, let's dive right on in because the big breaking news of the day. Also, we are awaiting a press conference by Pam Bondi. I believe that has to do with El Mayo, cartel leader who is plans on pleading guilty, and we can go. We'll talk about that. So we'll throw it to Pam Bondi when she starts that. But the story of the day that we've got to get to: Kilmar, the Maryland dad, the Maryland gangster, wife-beating, human trafficking dad, has been released. That happened over the weekend, and upon his release, he then had to check back in with ICE, which is standard procedure, where he was detained yet again. Here was the breaking news of that one.
My name is Simon Sandoval Moschenberg. I'm a partner at the immigration law firm of Murray Osorio PLLC in Maryland, Virginia, and New Jersey, and one of the many attorneys in the legal team that's been representing Kilmar Garcia. Mr. Garcia was taken into custody by ICE this morning.
I guess none of those people watched Game of Thrones to learn that the people yelling shame are actually the bad guys. But I guess they didn't really stick around long enough in the show to figure out that one. Also, nothing says you're a good lawyer like not buttoning your top button. You know, look, I'm wearing a T-shirt. I'm a podcast host. But when I go to court, I dress appropriately. I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not really sure. CNN was aghast. All this they could not bear. Oh, no, wrong one.
Breaking just a short time ago, since we have been on the air, Kilmar Garcia was taken into ICE custody. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed he is being processed for deportation. His attorneys now threatening new legal action if that happens, and they say he could be sent to Uganda unless he accepts a plea deal today that what it said see him deported to Costa Rica. So there's a lot going on here, all these new developments. Let's get right to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez in Baltimore with the very latest. What are you learning now, Priscilla?
Well, John, there have been multiple developments within the span of 2 hours. It wasn't that long ago that Kilmar Garcia was standing right behind me along with his wife as he was thanking organizers and his family before going into that federal building behind me to check in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But then only 45 minutes later is when we learned from his attorney that he was taken into ICE custody shortly after entering the building. And here's what his attorney had to say.
If they want to deport him to any other country, they need to go through that exact same process. Unless and until they have gone through that process, they do not have the right to put him on an airplane. And that's what we're going to be asking the district court to ensure, that he is not put on any flight to any country whatsoever, whether it's Uganda, South Sudan, what have you, unless and until he has had a full and fair trial.
Now, the big question here, John, is where he is going to be deported. That is exactly what his attorney was talking about there. Previously, the administration had offered a plea deal that if he were to plead to 2 federal charges and carry out his criminal sentence here in the United States, that he'd be deported to Costa Rica. But if not, the Trump administration would deport him to Uganda, a country with which he has no ties to. That has been something that the administration has leaned on often, the removals to third countries. But the attorney said that Kilmar Garcia is okay with being deported to Costa Rica. The question is, will the administration do it if the plea deal is not accepted, which we know from his other attorneys that it has not been accepted. So there is still a process yet to unfold here. And it is in part because of a federal judge earlier this summer that said that Abreu Garcia and his attorneys had to be notified at least 72 hours prior to removal where he'd be removed so that his attorneys can have the opportunity to contest that removal. And that is the process that we'll be looking out for here. His attorney also saying that filed a new lawsuit contesting again his deportation and his detainment because his attorney stands by the fact that there is no reason for which he should be detained right now. He was already under monitoring. So the attorney says there's no basis for his detention, which is yet another question that they did not get an answer to today from ICE where he will be detained. It is very common that when ICE takes custody of people, they can detain them in their different centers across the country. So at this hour, there are still a couple questions here. Where will he be deported? And also, where will he be detained until that deportation? This, again, has been a dramatic legal saga that has gone for months now, starting with his deportation, his wrongful one to El Salvador earlier this year. Now, again, as I had mentioned, Abreu Garcia did speak to the crowd earlier this morning where he thanked his family, and this is what he had to say.
Me reuní con mi familia.
Yeah, I don't really care. I just don't. Where will he be detained? Look, I got news for you, okay? You want to send me to Costa Rica? I'll go. You ever been there, you know why. Costa Rica is gorgeous. Yeah, so he's basically getting a free vacation. Look, you know, I hate to say it, but you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. Like, you know, I don't know what to tell you, bro. You don't have the right to just come into America because you want to. You've been deported once. Now we can either send you to Africa or we can send you to the land, to the beautiful, and I want to be clear, beautiful land of Cope. But he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any ties there. He doesn't have any ties to Uganda or Costa Rica. Well, he didn't have any ties to America before he got here, and he didn't seem to have a problem with coming here. So I'm not sure why this would be done. Oh, that's right. He doesn't want to go there because those countries suck. What a thought. What a thought. As I've said numerous times, and if you're a fan of this show, you know that my going line is just because your country sucks doesn't mean you get to come here. And how do I know your country probably sucks? Because you left it. I don't want to leave America. You know why? Because America's awesome. America's awesome. And everybody who knows America is awesome, and even some people who won't really admit it out loud, like the radical leftists out there protesting for Kilmar. By the way, also, real quick, I do want to thank that reporter for having no accent whatsoever, not a little bit of an accent, but then as soon as she says his name, she's got to make sure she rolls the R. No accent at all. None at all. Until she gets to Kilmar Garcia. You got to make sure you do that, because I don't know why people do that. It's like kind of pointless. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. But I want to thank her for being culturally sensitive to that, I guess, if that's what we're doing now. I don't blame him for wanting to leave America. Most of the stuff here is relatively free. You can go about your life as a human smuggling, wife-beating drug dealer, and most of the time nothing really is going to happen to you. But Democrats have latched on to this guy, and when we get into the flag burning segment today, this is what President Trump does better than almost anything else he does. He finds a way to put every one of these radical Democrats firmly in the 80-20 camp. And we're going to show you that in a little bit. But before we do that, here was President Trump basically reiterating everything that I'm about to say. That the Democrats have hitched their wagon to absolutely the wrong guy.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, through a system of liberal courts, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it, Pam?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in D.C., we've also taken off MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
Speaking of Washington, D.C., I'd like to give a big congratulations to our nation's capital for having a 12th straight day of no one being murdered. I mean, we're really setting the bar kind of low here, I think. I don't know. 12 straight days of no one being killed. Do I hear 13? Can we get up to 15? The real question will be, will Polymarket be taking bets on how long Washington, D.C. will go without, some toddler being shot on their porch, or a mother having to dodge stray bullets in a park, or someone being stabbed on the metro? Will Polymarket be taking bets on this any day now? Any day now. But that wasn't all President Trump did this morning, and we are going to get to the raucousness, the controversy of the day, and that is, should it be illegal to burn an American flag? As President Trump signed an executive order this morning, making it a penalty of 1 year in prison for such act of burning an American flag. We're going to get into the legal aspect of it, my personal feeling, and why he's doing this. Here's President Trump.
Sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they used that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement is
incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail.
Now, okay, this is going to be the part of the show where I upset everyone watching. That's what I do best. Shit happens. This is going to be the part where I upset everybody. Now, is setting a flag on fire free speech? No, but not because of the patriotic entity that is the American flag. Setting things on fire is not free speech. Whatever the hell it is. Is it protest to set a car on fire? Is it free speech to set a dumpster on fire? Is it free speech to set a building on fire? So then why would it be free speech to set a flag on fire? That doesn't make any sense. Now, I understand why some people would say that setting a flag on fire, setting an American flag on fire is not free, is shouldn't be allowed. There's an emotional feeling to it. And I totally get that. But just the entity of setting something on fire is arson. If I were to take, I don't know, a bag of French fries and set it on fire in the middle of the street, I don't understand how the act of setting that fire is different than the act of setting a flag on fire. It is what it is. Now, let's move it along here. Should you be able to set an American flag on fire? Well, my question would be, can I set other flags on fire? Can I set the Israeli flag on fire? Some people, many people, a lot of people would say that's a hate crime. Can I set a pride flag on fire? Many people, a lot of people would say that's a hate crime. So my question is, what the fuck is the difference between the colors of the flag? If the thing has meaning to a person, you have designated that at least 2 of those instances are hate crimes, so why wouldn't the third be? Or we could all just stick to the standard of stop setting things on fire in the middle of the street. You can't set fires in the street. You can't do that. Moreover, ceremonial flag burnings happen all the time. As a matter of fact, that is one of the proper ways to dispose of an old flag. So my question is, there is a time and a place for everything. There is no problem with you being naked. Just don't do it outside. Time and place. This ought to be obvious to everybody. But oh, was it not? I put it on Twitter that it should be illegal to set a flag on fire. And oh, the libertarians, they came for me. All the Ron Paul people who have never won an election in their entire lives. Oh, did they come for me, baby. Woo-wee. The libertarians were out in full force. All 12 of them. They were out in full force, baby. What are you going to do? It happens. What can you do? But we're going to get to more of this in just a second because there is a bigger, there's a bigger context to this. That President Trump has done the majority of his presidency, and I want you guys to keep all of this in the back of your mind as we move forward, as we keep going. But before we get to that, guys, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. They are a proud sponsor of this network. Lock in those interest rates before Jerome Powell lowers rates or loses his job or whichever one happens first, because one of those two is coming any day now. Head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. But why is President Trump doing this? Why is he doing it? Because President Trump does not care about entities, the FBI, the Supreme Court, the institutions. He cares about public perception. And the bottom line is that burning an American flag is something that most Americans, even some Democrats, have a serious problem with. So here's what's going to happen. This will be appealed. I'm sure a bunch of idiots looking for a quick payday will, burn a flag in the street. They're probably doing it right now. They'll be arrested. They will sue. It'll go to the Supreme Court, and then it'll be struck down, which is exactly what's going to happen. The original law in 1989, the case is Supreme Court case, flag burning. I believe it was in 1989. Is that Texas v. Johnson, and then United States versus Ekman in 1990. This has been ruled on twice. It will be ruled on again. It will be constitutional to burn an American flag. We'll move on. But Trump will have the issue. And in having the issue, like with many of the things he's done over the course of the last several years, he will be on the 80-20 side of things. Yes, the radical left will say it's okay to burn an American flag because Trump doesn't want you to, and the 87 libertarians that exist in America and seem to screw up every election, yes, they will be mad too at Trump for it. But he'll have the issue on his side. And that's what Trump does. He secures issues, and then he moves on. That's exactly what he's doing. Just like with what he's doing now with making cashless bail illegal in the United States. Now, I want to be clear. Trump doesn't have the power to do this. But in doing so, in signing the executive order removing cashless bail, he secures the issue. And by securing the issue, he secures the 80-20 position. Here was President Trump outlawing cashless bail all over America.
We like clean, we like beautiful, and we like safe, and that's what we're getting. So I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And, I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street, all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I
Yes, sir.
ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They threw him out of the family business, and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sir.
So important. And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us. But this is just, we got to bring our country back. Okay? That's a big one.
Also on the issue of cashless bail, sir, this is a DC...
I got to tell you, I love when he does this because people begin to go apoplectic when Donald Trump does these like executive order signings. They're just absolutely hilarious. They're just funny. They lose their it's like Kim Jong-un. They lose their minds. So we laugh our asses off about it. But he's not wrong. That cashless bail is absolutely one of the worst things this nation has ever done. And naturally, because it is one of the worst things we've ever done in America, where did it start? Right here, baby. Right here in the old Empire State. I'd like to thank that piece of shit, Todd Kaminsky, the former state senator from Nassau County, for implementing it, and that ass-grabbing governor we used to have, Andrew Cuomo. Please get out of the mayor race. Governor Nipples, okay? Get out of the mayor race. You're killing all of us, and some of us aren't even old people. I'd like to thank you two idiots for implementing cashless bail and giving the blueprint for the rest of the nation to know how to do it, so that now there's no reason to ever return to court. And Democrats will come out and say, you're punishing, you're penalizing being poor. Bro, most bails are set at like $200. You know the best way? You know the best way to not have to post bail? Don't break the law. I mean, the blueprint here is like, it's really something. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, look, I'm not a genius or anything, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. It turns out if you don't want to pay bail, don't break the law. Don't break the law. But as I said, we want to give a big congratulations to Washington, D.C. It turns out over the course of the last almost 2 weeks, their residents have resisted the urge to kill each other. And you know what? I'm proud of that.
With the 11%, okay? There's no crime. JD, please.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks, Mr. President. Thanks to the incredible team here. You know, I want to echo something the president said, where you say there haven't been murders in a couple of weeks in D.C., and it doesn't sound good, but then you talk to local law enforcement, and I didn't realize that this town averaged one murder every other day for the last 20, 30 years, which means that in 2 short weeks, the president and the team have saved 6 or 7 lives, people who would have been killed on the streets of D.C., who are now living, breathing, spending time with their families because the president had the willpower to say no more. We're not going to give the streets of D.C. over to vagrants and robbers and murderers. And the last point I want to make, sir, to your point about we want people to welcome us, to ask us, because look at Governor Pritzker in Illinois, or Governor Newsom in Los Angeles, or Governor Moore in Maryland. They are angrier about the fact that the President of the United States is offering to help them get their crime under control than they are about the fact that murderers are running roughshod over their cities and have been for decades. Why are Democrat governors angrier about federal law enforcement helping clean up their streets than they are about the fact that those streets need to be cleaned up to begin with? It shows a real sickness in the head. And I agree with the President of the United States. I think most Democrats, rank and file, nobody likes crime. Republicans don't like crime. Democrats don't like crime. Independents don't like crime. Why are Democratic governors doing everything in their power to make crime easier to do in their cities? It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But, Mr. President, I appreciate you being willing to help. And I hope these governors take you up on the offer, because we should clean up all of America's streets. It's the right of every American to live in safety and comfort in their community.
And we've got the people to do it. They're signing up.
Well said, President Vance. I mean, Vice President Vance. I want to be clear, guys. I was out last night, yesterday, at the Wisconsin Street Fair doing voter registration, and I want to be clear. To a man, every single person said that J.D. Vance was the guy in 28. Every single one of them, except for one guy, but he also made another comment that let me know he was, in fact, an idiot, so we'll just ignore him. We'll just ignore that guy. But, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, because, of course, we are going to talk about why Democrats suck. We're going to talk about that in great detail over the course of the next, 25 minutes left before we get rocking, before we get rolling, guys. Once again, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. You guys can pick up the brand new, nobody has seen this yet, baby, the new I voted for this t-shirt, baby. Oh, yeah. I get asked every single day by Democrats, did you vote for this? And I say, yeah, I did vote for it. As a matter of fact, I voted for more of it. I voted for it all over the place. Pick that up today at loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. Also, guys, couple of housekeeping notes. Couple of quick housekeeping notes. I will be at the Ronkonkoma Street Fair on Sunday. More voter registration, kicking ass, taking names all over Long Island. We got rookie numbers. We got to bump these numbers up. So anybody that wants to come down and give me a hand, please do let me know, because everybody is getting on board. Everybody's getting on board. So much so that now we are beginning to see other states assisting ICE in their captures of illegal immigrants. And what is this going to mean for the census moving forward? What is this going to mean for redistricting moving forward as we get into 2028, 2030, 2032? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Here was ICE in Georgia kicking names and taking ass.
This morning, we've learned Georgia National Guard troops are getting ready to help federal immigration agents. The State Department of Defense says they were asked to provide support to ICE agents and are right now in the early stages of staffing that request. The department says using Georgia's military personnel would enable ICE to dedicate more trained agents to core law enforcement activities. The Georgia Department of Defense said the department has a long history of partnering with federal, state, and local agencies to ensure the safety and security of our communities.
Well, the news comes as new data released this week shows that ICE arrests have exploded here in Georgia under the Trump administration. 4,500 undocumented migrants were arrested in Georgia between January and July of this year. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. Now, compare that to around 960 migrants arrested in all of 2021. That's a more than 360% increase. Georgia ranks fourth in the nation in total ICE arrests.
Ooh, well, what does that mean? Let's think about this in terms of redistricting moving forward in the elections. Kevin, what do you mean by that? Well, as I've shown you guys a great many times, there is going to be a radical shift in the Electoral College over the course of the next several years. We are now in the back end of the 2020s. I know some of you can't believe that. And you guys know I do this all the time. So before we get to the redistricting stuff, I'm just going to let you guys know real quick, in case anybody watching this wants to feel really, really old. Y'all ready for this? Fun fact, if Marty McFly went back to the future right now, he would get out of that car in 1995. Yeah. Yeah. Let's put that into context. But that's not the point. That's not what I want to talk about. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about redistricting as we move into the 2032 cycle. Because I got news for you. Mathematically, Democrats are in a very serious way. What do I mean by that? Well, we've seen Ohio and California and Texas talk about the concept of redistricting, and that could sway the House in this election. But moving forward, based on population movement, there is almost nothing Democrats can do to save themselves. Forecasts for the 2030 census, if we do nothing, if Texas doesn't redistrict, if California, New York, Ohio, Florida, if none of them redistrict, what happens? For the 2032 election, Texas gains 3 more seats. Florida gains 2 more seats. Idaho and Utah both get 1 more. More importantly than that, California will lose 3, Illinois will lose 2, New York will lose 1, and Rhode Island will lose 1. The fact that Rhode Island has 2 congressional districts is beyond me, but that's not the point. What does that mean? That means that there will be a 14-point electoral college swing without any of us having to do anything. What does that mean? That means Georgia's off the board. That means everyone here who doesn't trust the Arizona election system, Maricopa County, all that nonsense, who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. Democrats will lose an entire state and a big state. They'll lose, well, I think Georgia, what is Georgia? Georgia's 16, I think. Arizona, doesn't matter anymore. Michigan, doesn't matter anymore. Wisconsin, doesn't matter anymore. Nevada, doesn't matter anymore. Which means that in order for Democrats, under the current map, to win the Electoral College, they would have to win every single swing state and New Hampshire in order to pick up victory. That is bananas. People are voting with their feet. And I got news for you. This New York Times forecast that I'm talking about right now, I think it lowballs it. I really think it does. I think New York loses 1 more. I think Texas gains another. I think Tennessee picks up 1 and California loses 4 in its totality. So we could be looking at between a 13 and 18-point electoral college swing. That is wild. This could be the largest migration of Americans throughout the country since the end of the Civil War, when slaves fled the South. This is bonkers. What does that mean? That means that if we work our asses off, we work our tails off, we win in 26, we win in 28, we may never lose again. We may never lose the House of Representatives again. And people think this is like some far-fetched notion. It's not. From the end of World War II up until the Newt Gingrich Revolution in the early 90s, Democrats held the House of Representatives for like 55 years. We are going to see that sort of power in the Republican Party henceforth from now. Why? Because the largest demographic of people that vote Democrat are old white women. And the largest ascendant group voting for Republicans are young males. We've never seen anything like this before. From a political science perspective, these people who do this analyzing must be losing their minds right now with projectable forecasts, but we can't let our foot off the pedal. It's got to be all gas, no brakes. We can never let up. Ever, ever, ever. We can never, ever let up. Why can't we let up? Because we are quite literally breaking people. Quite literally ending people. Need any more proof of this? Do you need any more proof of this? Well, here in New York, there is a legacy family. Their names are the Cuomos. And one of them, the one that Mario Cuomo didn't like, there was the one he really liked, Andrew. And then there was the one on the bottom, Chris. Chris Cuomo had one of the best interviews I've ever seen in my entire life. He used to be on Good Morning America, and then he was on mornings of CNN, and then he was a primetime host, and now he's hosting a podcast. But he interviewed somebody who openly admits that Donald Trump has broken them. I'm ashamed to say it. I went to the same high school as this lady, and apparently being on television for 40 years didn't teach you how to properly frame out a shot of a camera. But here's Chris Cuomo with one of his most impressive interviews I've ever seen.
During his first go-round, it was very difficult, and I got myself into some bad places. You know, I was very, very depressed. I was overeating. I was over-drinking. I was so depressed, Chris. I can't, it hurt my heart that America believed the lies about him. And then it broke my heart to be in a business that creates and sells those lies for profit. You know, it was very heavy, to tell you the truth.
Oh, it's heavy, all right, Rosie. Wow, Chris. What a fall from grace, babe. If you get any more irrelevant people, you're going to be interviewing, I don't know, Ronald McDonald or maybe the Wendy's chick is available. Wow. By the way, Rosie, what is that camera angle? You were on television for like 25 years. You can't frame out a shot? It's not that hard. Nobody wants to see your turkey neck. Imagine that. Imagine going on television and saying that Donald Trump caused you to gain weight. And by the way, Rosie, we remember the 90s, honey. Donald Trump didn't force you to gain weight, okay? Okay? We all saw the Flintstones movie. We all remember that ridiculous talk show you had with that stupid doll that for some reason cost like $98 back in the 90s. We all remember that, okay? It wasn't Trump that caused you to get fat, okay? You've been looking to lower your A1C for quite some time. If I remember correctly. But Democrats just don't get it. They don't understand why it is they are at like a 21% approval rating. And in just a minute, we're going to show you exactly why they are before we get to that Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. For up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, look, Democrats, they're in bad shape. They're in bad shape. Nobody wants to be a Democrat anymore. They're getting steamrolled by their progressive left. So, they decided to have a meeting. They decided to have a meeting where they started it out with a land acknowledgement. Do you know what a land acknowledgement is? A land acknowledgement is when fat cat ladies decide to go behind a microphone, and before they do anything at the meeting, they just acknowledge the fact that they're on stolen land. They're not on stolen land. They're on land that was won, because it turns out the people who lived on that land spent too much time hitting the peace pipe and not enough time inventing the gun or, the wheel. Real pieces of modern technology here that could have stopped them from losing their land, but Democrats still have to do it.
Lindy Somek, who is from the Saginaw Ojibwe Nation, and she's going to deliver our land acknowledgement today. Lindy?
Bonjour, Lindy Samek Nindichnikas, Amekdodam, Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis.
Sorry, for some reason that was unbelievably low. She went out there, I don't know why that video came out like that. She decided to come out and acknowledge the land that she's currently on. Well, I hate to break it to you, lady, whatever land you're talking about, before it was owned or occupied or you know, lived on by whatever tribe you decided to mention, it was owned by the Buffalo. So maybe the land or the tribe or the people who used to live on the land are the ones who lost the war, who agreed to the treaties to kick them off their land before we acknowledge them. Perhaps we ought to acknowledge the fact that at first the land was controlled by the Buffalo. But we don't need to do that because there's already a Buffalo doing the land acknowledgement. You know, not a big deal. But Democrats just don't get it, which is why Democrats have hired a think tank. A think tank. By the way, I just want to be clear. If your answer to anything ever is to say, let's see what a think tank thinks, you're a dumbass. Well, Democrats have decided to hire a think tank to inform them on words they shouldn't be using anymore. Why is that so damn big? Here we go. Here we go. Here are words that Democrats should not be using anymore. Y'all ready for this? Here we go. Holding space, intersectionality, systems of oppression, incarcerated people, the unhoused, body shaming. These are all words and phrases that none of you have ever used in your day-to-day life, but Democrats love. Another phrase that they should never be using again is the phrase existential crisis. Donald Trump is an existential crisis to democracy. The climate catastrophe is an existential crisis. Everything is existential. Nothing is existential, okay? Nothing. It's a giant word that you think your dumbass voters find impressive because it was on their, I don't know, their SAT calendar that they had in high school. Nobody says that. Nobody talks like that. Except for elected Democrats, which is why when some of them go on TV and make a buffoon out of themselves, Scott Jennings laughs at them.
Democrats are fair. I think it's pretty clear that despite the fact that Donald Trump has cratered, Republican, their brand has cratered, the Democratic brand has not recovered, and it's because
what are you talking about? What is the Democratic
trust.
Approval rating? Come on, be honest, brother. Come on, what's the Democratic approval rating and what's Donald Trump's? Come on, man.
So Scott and I actually might agree on part of this. The Democratic effort is very much dependent upon rebuilding trust with voters. And I think the way you do that is you show that you have the ability to fight, you show you have a consistent thing to say. And I think that's in progress. And I think Democrats would be wise to not ignore that, but to lean into the opportunity to do that. There's a reason why Republicans are rigging the rules right now so that they can steal a couple of extra seats going into the 2026 midterms. But that has nothing to do with what Democrats need to do in terms of rebuilding trust with the public. And I think the opportunity is there for them to do that. And the urgency to do that is right now.
And Scott, just looking ahead to 2026, look, you have that, the stats Harry was talking about, but, you know, when Donald Trump's not on the ballot for Republican, he really juices the elections for the Republicans. The people who will never vote otherwise tend to show up and vote for Donald Trump. What do Republicans do to make sure that while Democrats are trying to get it together, that they can hang on to the House?
Let me just correct one issue. Donald Trump is not cratered. If anybody's cratered, the Democratic Party, 33% in the Wall Street Journal poll. There's another one where they're at 19%. Trump at worst is in the mid-40s. The Republican brand is in a lot stronger position than the Democratic brand. That's number one. Number two, you're absolutely right about the Republicans or the voters who only vote for Trump. I'm not sure they consider themselves to be members of either party. And it is imperative that the Republicans convert them into regular vote time and again. So I would say, honestly, Jessica, this is project number one for the Republican Party for the midterms, is you have to make an argument. If you like Donald Trump and you turned out for Donald Trump, if the Democrats win in November, it's all going to go away. All the progress that you're for is going to stop if Democrats win the election. That's probably the best argument they have. And the only person who could really make it is Trump himself, and I suspect he's going to have his shoulder to the wheel for the midterm.
And Jessica, let me just say, I would love if Donald Trump said, if you like Donald Trump, vote for Republicans next year. Scott, please tell your friends at the NRSC and NRCC to tell them to say that. please.
All right, Scott, Joel.
I'm sure they will, but I gotta ask. Do you admit that the Democrats have a at best 33 and probable more like 19% approval rating? Do you admit you've seen the polling, or you didn't see it before you came on?
I saw the polling, and I'd be concerned that Democrats still have a plus 5% chance in ballot choice.
By the way, the poll that guy cited that has Donald Trump in the mid 45s. Let's put this into context. Has Donald Trump in the mid 45s. That same poll, 6 months into his second term, had who 1 point better than that? 1 point. Barack Hussein Obama. So you know what? Why don't we cut the shit here, okay? 45% is what you're going to get. The era of like the George W. Bush 3 weeks after 9/11 having an 82% approval rating. You're smoking crack. That's never going to happen. At best, you're going to have 50. At worst, you're going to have like 41. And then you can fit your way somewhere in the middle there. That's the era in which we're in. But that guy on the right, whoever the hell he is, because CNN is just pulling in people off the street now. It's like if you ran for student body president junior year of high school, they somehow think you are smart enough to be a political analyst to go on TV. Now, they would never have me on, because when they have radicals on from Long Island, they end up getting Ryan Gradusky, and he drops one of the funniest lines in the history of cable television. By the way, I hope that guy's beeper still didn't go off. We got to keep rocking and rolling here because we only got about 5 minutes left in the show. But I had to make sure I threw a Scott Jennings coming in off the top rope there. We got one funny story that I'm going to save for the very end, because I do want to talk about things getting worse and worse for Mayor Eric Adams, whose chief of staff was indicted for accepting $75,000 worth of bribes, including $10,000 in seafood. Really? Really? That's a real sentence. Eric Adams, longtime confidant and former senior advisor, was hit on Thursday with a set of corruption indictments accusing her of running a sprawling bribery scheme that touched multiple corners of the government. She was often referred to as Adams' sister ordained by God, and allegedly traded political favors for more than $75,000 in cash, luxury perks, and seafood spreads, and even an acting cameo opposite Forrest Whitaker. If you're famous in New York, you don't need to take political bribes to get an acting job. Literally, it's called centralcasting.com. You can just go on there and you can be like the waiter in a Law and Order episode, or like the corpse that gets killed in the first 4 minutes. You don't have to accept political bribes, sweetheart. According to the New York Post, she entered a Manhattan courtroom in a gold suit. Really? The indictments accuse Louis Martin and several associates of exploiting the city's $7 billion migrant crisis contracts, manipulating street redesign projects, securing personal home renovations, building permits, all while collecting bribes in cash. What is this city coming to? What is New York City coming to that public officials cannot accept bribes for seafood? Man, this used to be a great city. I don't know what the hell happened to it anymore. I don't know what the hell is going on. This used to be a great city. It used to be a great city where if you wanted to get building permits, all you had to do was buy somebody a plate of oysters Rockefeller, and they would just put it right through. The city that never sleeps. Not good. Not good at all. You know what else isn't good? You know what else is not good? What is bad, which is not fair, and I want to make sure that I address it. The Ottawa Gay Pride Parade was interrupted over the weekend. Now, I know what you're saying, Kevin. Every day is the Gay Pride Parade in Ottawa because it's Canada. But the Ottawa Gay Pride Parade was interrupted over the weekend. Was it by radical Christians? Was it by supporters of Pierre Poilievre? Was it by truckers? Was it by I don't know, everyone from Letterkenny? No, it wasn't by any of those people. It was by...
So here's the reason the parade is canceled. This canceled the entire parade.
Sorry, this is the greatest photo in the history of political activism. You have the Pride people on the right, and you have the Palestine people on the left arguing with each other. Somewhere, there's a radical conservative in Ottawa sitting there in a lawn chair, well, I would say eating popcorn, but it's Canada, so they're probably, drinking maple syrup or whatever the hell it is they do up there. Somewhere, there's got to be somebody just sitting back, eating popcorn going, let's see who wins this one. Why don't you guys have it out? Maybe it should be remediated by the Queers for Palestine people. It would be like, you guys remember Celebrity Deathmatch from the 90s? You'd have like the LGBTQ on one side, the pro-Palestine on the other, and then like Mills Lane, the Mills Lane character would be the Queers for Palestine. I think that would be a hell of a show. Maybe we can get it back on MTV. It'd be great. Guys, Pete Santilli is coming up next. If you voted for all this, make sure you go to loudmajorityusa.com, check out the shop, click the donate button, support the show. I really do appreciate it, everybody. Until tomorrow, stay loud.